Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsyreplays. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to have a look at one of my old-time favourite tanks. Yes, the FV215B. This used to be my favourite tier 10, apart from the Leopard, of course. But Wargaming have just ruined this tank. Now, Wargaming gave it these extra consumables, the sandboxes, the provisions, and because they gave it all these extra things, it kind of made the tank really good. But instead of nerfing the consumables and nerfing the provisions, they nerfed the tank itself. And now they nerfed the DPM of the tank. And it honestly, it feels useless. It really feels useless. This tank was all about the DPM. And fair play, it still has a little bit of DPM. But now I would honestly recommend not using the sandbags, not using the extra hit points, but instead using the T for more DPM. So if you run this with calibrated shells, you have 2,700 DPM. And this was once the highest DPM heavy tank in the game, or in tier 10 at least. And of course, it has HESH. That's why I always run it with calibrated shells. But nowadays, you might as well run it with the rammer just to up that DPM. This tank here, the WZ113, at one point had the exact same DPM as the FV215B. And now it has over 3,500, whilst the FV has 2,900. And honestly, right now, you used to be able to see this tank in competition, tournaments. You used to be able to see this tank, but now you'd never see it because the tank is not as good as it once was. And if you own a Chieftain Mark 6 or if you own a Super Conqueror, there is really no reason whatsoever to play the FV215B. Of course, as I've said, with the rammer, you can still get it up to 2,900 DPM, but I've always liked the calibrated shells because it has the HESH. And of course, if you can get that HESH out, you are upping that DPM a little bit more. But I tried to get footage. For this, and I tried to get decent footage just to at least say you can still perform well. And I honestly probably had about 100 battles, maybe a little bit less, trying to get the footage for this video. It honestly, it was painful. It really was painful to try and get this video out, or the footage for this video. And originally I was going to play it and think, like, because I haven't really played it since the nerf, and when it did get nerfed, I did say I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference with the nerf. So I went to play it just to say, look, it's not that bad. Yeah, I was wrong. It's probably one of the worst tier 10s now. It probably is one of the worst tier 10s out there. Also, the E5. The E5 did get nerfed with this. But the E5 is still playable. It is still playable, and it can still do damage and can still be a nuisance. It's still got the armor. This, however, it does have a turret at least, or a little bit of a turret. But other than that, doesn't have great armor. The upper plate used to be quite strong, although against medium tanks, yeah, it is still strong. The lower plate is all weak, but this tank has always been really known for that DPM, because the DPM is really the only thing that kept this tank going. It is a rear mounted turret, so you do struggle on these ridge lines. You do still have that turret, so you still can get bounces occasionally. But yeah, for me, I just don't think there's any reason to play this tank. If you do own a Super Conqueror, or if you do own a Chieftain Mark 6, there really isn't no reason at all to play this tank. Now, back about a year ago, probably a little bit less, when this tank used to be really good, Wargaming got this new Octopus Camo. And not only that, but they also brought in the Octopus X Camo. And basically, you could only get that camo if you aced the tank 5 times. So if you got a 5 masteries from the time it started, not the from the start, from the time they got the camo, if you got 5 aces, you won the octopus, the X camo, which is the same camo as this, but in blue. And it was a really nice camo, and it was something nice to have, something to show your achievements. But at that time, it was almost impossible to ace the tank because every pro was playing the tank. You needed, on EU server at least, you needed around about 1700 XP to ace the tank. Now you're probably looking at about 1400, maybe 1450 to ace the tank. It's not that difficult. But for me, it was very difficult. I could not ace the tank. Just not because of how bad I was playing or how bad the team is. It was about the tank. It wasn't performing how I used to be able to perform in the tank. It just didn't cut it for me. And it was just no good. I mean, this game here, that was hard work for me to even reach 3k damage, and we still didn't bounce a lot of damage. So we're going to move on to another game here. This time we do perform a little bit better, but it still struggled. It still does have the speed boost. It wasn't a really slow tank anyway, but I still like running the speed boost because on any tank that has the speed boost, the better speed boost, I pretty much run the speed boost on any tank that it can go on because it does help to get into the game a little bit quicker. So this team, my team decided to go left, so I have gone with them. And again, against medium tanks, of course, you can get bounces. If you hold down, you can get bounces. But again, to use the gun depression, you do have to kind of come up at an angle. And we do manage to get a bounce from that chieftain. But we've got no chance in hell in getting our shot to him. Of course, the E50M has decided to flank round, so I need to I'm not going to hide from them all because there are quite a few tanks. So I'm only literally just going to show my tank to the E50M. And luckily, my team are with me and we are able to take him out. So far, I've only managed I've got a 1 kill and I have managed to get a little bit of block damage. So we've got 670 block damage so far. Put this tank in the right situation and of course, it can bounce, just like the chieftain. The chieftain has a great turret. It does have weak points, but it still has a great turret. If you sort of wiggle your turret, go backwards and forwards, you will be able to get bounces. And this is the same kind of thing. You can get bounces, and you've got to remember it does have that HE as well. And I keep really forgetting that with this tank. But going forward, I'm going to run this with the rammer now because I like DPM. And this tank, like I said, has always been about that DPM. So now I have to sacrifice some HE pen or some HESH pen just to get that DPM back to a little bit of where it was. Now, the reload, I think it lost like a whole second on the reload. And that's why when you look at it like that, it's only 1 second. But yeah, it does hurt the DPM, and it has hurt the DPM. So yeah, what do you guys think? Have you guys played this tank since the nerf? Do you think it's different? Do you still enjoy playing the tank? Because it's not a tank you regularly see in tier 10 now. And if you hear from all the pro players, they really don't like the tank now. A lot of them don't like the tank. It just doesn't perform well in battle. It doesn't get the bounces it once used to, and I mean the armor hasn't even really changed. That might have just been because there's better tanks out there now. Other tanks around it's been buffed, and this is just not special. When you've got a WZ113 that does almost 600 DPM more than this tank when it used to do the same thing, is kind of a big difference. Now, when you look at it like that, then yes, it is a big difference. So here we do get lucky. It's a 3-on-3. We've lost almost all of our hit points. We do manage to get that bounce there, luckily, but we're tracked, and this is where, okay, game over. But I do manage to just back up, and as I said, if you are hold down, you can get those bounces. And now we are up to 1,300 block damage. We're on 3.5k damage, and we do somehow stay alive against these guys. And we're going to get a nice HE roll, 644 HE roll into that AM BMX, and now it just leaves this object 84. So we're still on 4.2k damage, we've still done our damage, and we've still blocked 1300 damage. So we've still done our part this game, but we are lucky to stay alive, like really lucky to stay alive. We get one more shot there on the object and it is game over. 4.6k damage, that was enough for just the first class, but to be honest, I don't even think I deserved the first class. 1282 base XP, so it is around 1400 to ace this tank now. So let me know your thoughts. Like, do you still play this tank, or is it one of those tanks that's just going to collect dust in your garage? Because the nerf has hit this tank hard. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. I'm meadsy69, and I'll catch you all soon. Bye bye. With